The Dyatlov Pass. 9 hikers died, and 65 years later no one knows why. In late January 1959, 9 experienced student hikers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute set out on a ski trek across the northern Ural Mountains in Siberia. They were led by Igor Dyatlov, 23 years old, an experienced outdoorsman who had completed multiple winter expeditions. The group was well-equipped, well-trained, and following a planned route. Their goal was to reach the summit of Ural Mountain, a grade Roman 3 difficulty trek, meaning dangerous but manageable for experts. None of them would complete it. None of them would come home. When the hikers failed to return on schedule, a search party was dispatched. On February 26th, searchers found the tent on the slope of Siak, a mountain whose name in the indigenous Mansi language means dead mountain. The tent had been sliced open from the inside with a knife. All 9 hikers had fled into the night, in temperatures of -30°C, without their coats, without their boots, leaving behind all of their equipment. Whatever drove them out of that tent, it was something so terrifying that dying in the snow seemed preferable to staying inside. The searchers followed the footprints in the snow. They led 500 meters downhill into the tree line, where they found the remains of a makeshift fire. 2 of the hikers had climbed a cedar tree 5 meters up and broken large branches, apparently to see something in the direction of the tent. Their hands were badly cut. The bark of the cedar had been stripped by their fingers as they climbed. Near the fire, 2 bodies were found in their underwear barefoot, with severe burns on their hands and feet, as though they had thrust themselves into the fire. Bodies of the remaining 7 hikers were found across the mountain in subsequent days. Igor Dyatlov himself was found frozen, clutching a tree branch, facing back toward the tent. 3 hikers were found together in a gully. The remaining 2 were buried under 4 meters of snow and not recovered until May. The physical condition of the bodies defied explanation. 2 hikers had multiple rib fractures, the kind of trauma that requires the force of a car accident. One had a fractured skull, and one, Lyudmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips. The medical examiner's reports were clear. The internal injuries of the 3 hikers with broken ribs and skull fractures could not have been caused by any fall. The force required was massive, but there was no external bruising on the skin consistent with a blow, as though the force had come from within or from a pressure wave rather than a physical impact. The missing tongue, eyes, and lips of Dubinina were attributed to animal scavenging post-mortem by official reports. Independent researchers have disputed this, noting the precision of the tissue removal. What happened to the clothes was perhaps even more disturbing than the injuries. Several pieces of clothing recovered from the hikers tested positive for high levels of radioactive contamination. This was confirmed by the original Soviet investigation in 1959 and has been verified by subsequent independent researchers. The source of the contamination has never been identified. No nuclear facility operated in the region. No nuclear test was scheduled for that area on that night. Where the radiation came from remains unknown. Theories have been proposed for 65 years. Avalanche, rejected by the original investigators because the snow conditions and slope were wrong, and the hikers' footprints were undisturbed for 500 meters from the tent. Military weapons testing. Infrasound from wind conditions creating panic. A confrontation with Mansi indigenous people. An encounter with members of the Soviet secret police. An extraterrestrial encounter, reported UFO sightings over the Urals in the same period, are documented in declassified KGB files. Nothing fits all the evidence. In 2021, Russia officially announced their conclusion, an avalanche. The surviving families of the 9 hikers, as well as virtually every independent researcher who has studied the case, reject this finding. The snow conditions at the site cannot produce the type of avalanche described. The injuries are inconsistent with avalanche trauma. The radioactive contamination is completely unexplained. 65 years after 9 young people fled a tent in -30-degree cold and died in ways that defied medical understanding, we are no closer to the truth. Siak keeps its secrets.